Hi everyone, welcome to the Piano Keys. I'm so glad that you're here. In this video, I'm going to show you a couple of technique tips that can transform your playing. Now, just watching the video isn't going to do anything for you. Just like if you watch me do some sit-ups, your midsection isn't going to get stronger or toned. So this is something that you have to participate in, and you must do it consistently, basically every time that you play. So go through the exercises with me. It's quite short, but they're pretty big concepts. And then come back and watch this video basically before every time you practice, so that you remind yourself, both your mind and your body, what it is that you're going after. A lot of times people say, just show me what notes to play and I'll play them. Okay, so I'm a terrible golfer. I've tried one time. I was terrible. Actually didn't like it. So what if I went up to someone who can play golf really well and say, just show me how to hit the ball? It's not that simple, right? So there are techniques to playing golf, and there are different instances where you would do different things. So playing the piano is similar in the sense that I can't just show you the notes, because there are physical processes involved in what we're doing here. So watch this video, do it with me, do it every day before you practice. Also do my other technique exercises, and basically all of my tutorials have some technique information in them, because you really can't separate technique from playing the piano. But this one is particularly just focused on, this is what you have to do, this is what you have to think about. Find me on social media, Instagram, The Piano Keys TPK, Facebook, The Piano Keys. My website is thepianokeys.com. I'm always adding new stuff, like new courses and new sheet music, things like that. So take a look at thepianokeys.com pretty regularly to see what's happening. Join my Facebook group, Piano Practice Tips. You have to ask to join, but I will approve you unless you look really, really scary. Or if you have a page. I don't approve pages. You have to be a person. And in that group, we share piano practice tips. We encourage one another. People post videos of themselves playing, and I comment on what they can do better or what they're already doing really well. So it's a great place to exchange ideas, piano practice tips. You can also follow and like my Facebook page, The Piano Keys, where you'll see releases of new videos and so on. Okay, if you're ready to transform your technique, keep watching. First, let's talk about how not to play. And I've seen this so many times in people who have wanted to take lessons with me, or just people playing and teaching themselves. A lot of times, especially if you're playing on a digital keyboard, people will be pressing their fingers into the keys. Do you see how all the movement is starting in my fingers? They might even do something like this. See, my fingers are flat and I'm just kind of like pressing them down. There's so much wrong with this. First of all, we don't press down. I want you to think about using gravity to help you. So imagine if you were to lift something, anything, a pencil, a coin. I have a penny here, so I'm going to throw it up and I'm going to let it drop. Do you see that? I hope you did. But anyway, you know what gravity is like. You throw something up and gravity pulls it down. You don't have to push it down, right? So I want you to think the same thing when you're playing the piano. There's nothing to press. There's nothing to push. What you want to do is think of your forearm like a lever. Like you're lifting your forearm and you're lowering it. And because your wrist is so relaxed, it's also moving. So I'm going to lift my forearm without relaxing my wrist. Do you see that? Frankenstein arms. So that's a tight wrist. Now I'll lift my forearm, but I'll let my wrist be flexible. Do you see that? So I'm not moving my wrist. I actually can't move my wrist, okay? I can move my hand, I can move my forearm, but I can't move my wrist itself. It just looks like I'm moving my wrist. So do this with me. Put your fingertips on the keys. So you don't want to be flat like that. You want basically where your nail ends to be on the keys. And this is why you can't have long nails when you play piano. If you play piano and you have long nails, please don't tell me how that works for you. just don't, okay? And keep it to yourself. It's not good. It's like putting on stiletto heels and going for a run. Yes, you can do it. But do you really want to? All right, so yeah, if you play with long nails and you think it's okay, fine. But you're never going to convince me on that. So put your hand like that on your piano, and keeping your fingertips on the keys, lift your forearm and lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. So you see I'm still touching the keys, all right, but my wrist is very flexible and it's moving. So now we're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to lift just a little bit more so that I have a tiny bit of space between my fingertip and the key, and I'm going to let gravity pull down my forearm, and I just fall. 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 That might feel really weird at first, especially if you're not used to playing with a relaxed arm. So you'll have to practice it lots of times. It's not going to happen overnight. It might not even happen for a week or two. All right? Think of it this way. Imagine that your wrist is full of a very light air, like helium, and it always wants to rise. Lighter than air, right? So full of a light gas, not light air. Full of light gas like helium, and it always wants to rise. But imagine that your fingertips have little I don't know, ball bearings that are really heavy. So it's a constant lifting and a pulling down. The pulling happens from your fingertips because gravity is pulling them, and the lift happens from your wrist because you're going to imagine that it's full of helium. Okay? Now, when you're moving around on the piano, imagine it like this. I tell my students this, and it seems to really help them to visualize. So imagine that this is a hot air balloon. These are the people in the basket, and this part is the balloon. So the people are in the basket. Now we fill up the balloon with the light gas. It lifts, and it takes the people. Notice the people do not want to be above the balloon. That would be a disaster, right? They want to be hanging in the basket. So you're moving like that, and then when it's time to land, the people go down first, and then the balloon comes. Then when it's time to move again, the balloon goes up, moves, the people are still underneath the balloon, right? And then when it's time to land, the basket lands first with the people, and then the balloon. So you want to practice that. Okay? And it works with all the fingers, but it's easier to start with the third finger because it's a long finger and it's pretty strong if it's just playing like by itself. Now, if you're playing with the thumb you play on like that tip part where the corner of the nail. It's hard to see, but here I'll show you on my left hand. So the thumb plays like that because of the way that it's arranged on the hand. So you can't actually play with a round finger on the thumb. You see that? So let's try that. Put your thumb on the keys, and again, you want to imagine that the tip of the thumb is pretty heavy, and your wrist is very, very light. And lift the wrist and drop. Do not push it in. Don't hit the piano. So here's hitting. You notice? That happens when I don't let the wrist be relaxed. So, falling. Let's try that. Let's move now. Lift the balloon, move the people, and then land. Lift the balloon, move the people, and land. So you'll have to be pretty patient with yourself, especially if you really want to play pieces and you're not too interested in spending time with technique. That's actually not a wise thing to do, because you're going to always hit a ceiling or you won't be able to do something, and then you'll wonder, why can't I do it? It's because your technique isn't there. So you really want to take some time every day before you practice to get in touch with what part of your body is actually moving, right? How your fingers are being held on the keys. Are they round or are they flat? Round. Okay. Now I'm talking about the majority of the time. There are advanced techniques where you do different things, but those are not going to be for you. If you're learning from YouTube, you're probably not an advanced pianist. So for you, for you 100% of the time, you're going to want round fingers. Later, when you get advanced, and you know, we can talk about that. But now, if you're playing a chord, it's basically the same thing. If you're playing a chord that's stretched out, then of course you can't have round fingers, right? Especially if it's really stretched out. So you do your best, but you can still relax the wrist as much as possible, all right? That's almost a non-negotiable. No matter what else happens, your wrist should always have some movement in it. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you about is the feeling that every motion should have an opposite and equal reaction. So, when you're playing, see how my wrist is higher? When I go into the key, there's going to be a follow through. So it's following through and doing the opposite. So it was up here, it's bending and absorbing the impact. It's the same if you play baseball or if you play tennis or basically anything. Once you hit the ball, the baseball bat doesn't stop. It continues the motion all the way through the arc, right? So it's very similar in piano. Once you play the key, you don't stop. You have to let the follow through happen. See that? See the wrist following through? So I'm not doing this. When I do this, I'm putting the brakes on, and that's causing tension. Now, if I did that repeatedly, you know, half hour a day of practice, I'm going to get tendinitis or carpal tunnel syndrome or just plain not be able to play very well or at all after a while. So you want to make sure that every movement has an equal and opposite reaction or a follow through. A lot of times when I think about playing the keys, I think about falling into a very soft pillow. So I don't imagine the keys as, you know, in this case it's plastic, it's a digital keyboard. So I don't imagine it like a plastic thing that I'm playing. I imagine it like it's very soft and I'm falling into it, woo, like that, all right? And I think that's why one of the reasons people tell me it looks like you're playing on air or it looks like you're just gliding on the keys. It's because that's what I'm actually picturing, that there's a lot of air. There's air, you know, that lifts up my wrist and I sink into it. So if you think about a fluffy pillow, it's full of whatever, you know, feathers or whatever, but also a lot of air, right? Like that. So those were a couple of concepts that I want you to really think about and to practice. Be very patient with yourself. A lot of time we understand something mentally much earlier than our body is capable of doing. And so you have to work through that process of feeling uncomfortable and maybe not even knowing what you're doing, but just trust in the process itself. Now, that being said, if you're experiencing pain or tension, stop. That's not good. Pain does not equal gain in piano, okay? So let me know if you're encountering some kind of issue. Best place to do that is on the Facebook group, Piano Practice Tips. That way other people can also benefit from your questions and you can benefit from the answers that I've given to other people. Check out the links below this video for all kinds of stuff. If you want to help me keep this channel going and you're able to contribute some money, I would really appreciate it. The PayPal link is below. Thank you very much. Keep practicing, have fun, and I'll see you soon. Bye.